My name is Jason Stabinskas. I'm the Managing Director of LCL. The catalyst for this updated investor presentation is the recent approval at the AGM to change the company's name from Los Cerros Limited to LCL. The catalyst or the reason for that change is the recent acquisition of assets in PNG, and therefore referring to ourselves as Los Cerros, which is Spanish for the hills, didn't truly reflect the fact that we are now diversified across PNG and Colombia. So therefore we changed the name to LCL. The company ASX code doesn't change, so it remains LCL. So with the acquisition of the PNG assets in November of last year, we created a diversified portfolio across gold and copper, with new PNG assets adding to the gold assets we have in Colombia, and a nickel target in the south of PNG, which is quite interesting. And you can see on the map there, very in the south, all the red areas are LCL assets, and very is a nickel target in the south. So we're diversified across metals, and of course we're diversified across jurisdictions with projects in PNG and in Colombia. The acquisition also added to our project pipeline. So we now have a reserve in the form of Miraflores at 457,000 ounces at 3.3 grams per ton gold, which is a subset of the Quinchilla resource, which is 2.6 million ounces at a gram per ton in Colombia. And now we've topped up the earlier stage targets with the likes of Ono and Very and so on. The 2023 drilling program is focused on high impact activities in PNG, with the bulk of that attention on the Kusi target within the Ono area. And you can see that on the map as well, roughly central, the Ono target and Kusi being part of that target area. We completed a small capital raise to shareholders via rights issue earlier this year, and that topped up our treasury to 8.7 million, which gives us a total number of shares on issue of 794 million on issue, and a market cap of roughly 34 million, depending on the share price of the day. So now I'm going to zoom into the Kusi, the Ono area and the Kusi target. So the Ono project area is about 150 or so kilometers from Lae. Lae is the largest industrial port in the country. It's where the labs are based, and various drilling companies and so on are based as well. And there's a sealed road that takes you the bulk of the way to Ono, and that road passes the Newcrest Harmony joint venture called Wafi-Golpu, and also it goes close to Harmony Gold's Hidden Valley gold mine. And then from Wau onwards, it's a dirt road and a much rougher track here. But to get to Kusi itself is all helicopter supported. Now, while it's on this map, you can see here the major mountain structures. So you've got the highlands in the far north, and we're in the Owen Stanley in the south. But it's sort of a consistent arc structure where you've got mountain building happening at the plate margins, just like we see in Colombia with the Andes Mountains and our Quinchilla target sitting in that mountain building zone. It's the same story here. Now, again, the same thing for what we see in the Andes is you have this arc structure, which sort of is the main structural control for the mineralization in the country. And where you tend to see the more compelling discoveries or more successive discovery is where you see these arc normal structures. Now, normal just means 90 degrees to the arc. So a secondary structure coming off the arc. And you can see that very clearly here. Here's the arc structure. And as you look 90 degrees coming off that, you see Kusi, which is the target we're drilling. And there's a few others further away from that. And there's extensions to that in the southwest that has virtually seen no exploration yet, but we hope to get there and explore this area further. But Kusi is the main area of interest, where we have the 3,000 meter drilling program. So this is a plan view of the Kusi target. Now, to just sort of have a regional view of this, and then we'll zoom into the drilling results thus far in the 3,000 meter program. The main focus is this limestone layer here represented in this brick structure. Now, the brick pattern, sorry. This is the modelled upper limestone. What we mean by that is this area in the centre is a topographic high, a hill or a bump in the terrain. So this is higher here. And the limestone that we're targeting, which hosts this skarn-style mineralisation, is roughly horizontal. And I'll show you a cross-section in a minute that kind of demonstrates the point, but it's roughly horizontal. And if this is a topographic high and the unit is roughly horizontal, you would expect the expression to surface to look like a ribbon. So the mineralization itself is not like a ribbon, it's a sheet. But where it is modeled to break the surface appears around a certain elevation around the topographic high in the middle. So that's what you're seeing here. The expectation is that it continues through under the topographic high and is exposed on the other side of the topographic high. Now, this map is mainly regional surface data, although there is some historical holes that I'll point out as well, to give you an idea of what's so compelling about this area and the results we've got so far. So you can see trenching of the skarn layer, which is inside the limestone. 10 meters at, sorry, that's a drill result, 71 meters at 4.96 and 4.77 silver and 0.37 copper here. Now that you can see that's running along the limestone unit. So the 71 meters is not any indication of true width. It's the opposite. It's running a long strike rather than a cross strike, but of course the grades are perfectly valid. There's another trench here that we released earlier in the year, 4 meters at 16.7 gram per ton gold. And as you can see in this image, it only sampled a portion of the limestone unit. We couldn't go any further because of just the challenges of trying to extend the trench further to the south. So it doesn't suggest that that's the end of the mineralization. And there's another trench over here, 20 meters at 3.84, and a few outcrops of material around the place as well that are of pretty exciting results. But I've also included in this map 2 trench results in the far north. Now you might look at these and go, well, why did you point these out? They're 10 meters at 0.45 and 13 meters at 0.7. Hardly exciting compared to what we're seeing in the south. But it is, the message is compelling because a few things. First of all, notice it's not in the modelled limestone unit. It's below that, or next to that. Now, so the grade obviously is not reflective of what it might be in the limestone unit, but it also is confirming the broad theory that what we're seeing over here in this modelled area of the upper limestone extends and potentially continues on all the way over here as well. So it's kind of confirmation of the general theory that we're dealing with what could be a substantial sheet of skarn-style mineralization in the area. Now we have this area over here called Leah's Lode. This is different to the skarn we see here. It has a different orientation, but some really exciting results. And we hope to be drilling here later in the year as well. Trench 5, 22 meters at 4.68. And trench 4, 8 meters at 11.5 grams per ton gold and 2.6% copper. And there's an outcrop here that grade 61 grams per ton gold and 18% copper. Not literally not contributing to the trench calculation there, but just right on the edge of that trench result. You can also see that the area we're drilling, and I'll talk about this more in the next slide, is just in this southern region. This is where we started the drilling campaign, and you can see we're stepping in a northerly direction away from the known and into this large area of the unknown. And the results so far have been pretty exciting. But let's do the quick cross section. I'm going to draw a cross section across here so you can clearly see what I mean when I talk about this this extended sheet underneath the outcrop. So this is the north spinning around here now, and this is the south. These, you can see the drill holes. The 2 deep ones are the historic holes, and the shallower ones are the drilling program thus far, with holes 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then hole 5 over here. I'll talk about hole 5 in the next slide. So this is the area where we're drilling. Over here is the trenching results that I mentioned earlier, the various really exciting trenching results, including that sort of 4 meters at 16 gram per ton, just grabbing the top edge of that. And this is those golden trenches that I mentioned in the far north at the 0.7 and the 0.45 gram per ton hits below where the limestone is modelled to daylight. And this is the area of the unknown, hole 5 being the first big step into this area of unknown. So this is the area of the drilling results so far, and we're stepping out in this direction just to see how far this extends to the north. And let's talk about the drill results themselves now. So we're zooming into that little area in the south where all the drill holes were in the previous map. This is hole 1 here. We released that a few weeks ago, 76 meters at 1.34, including 15 meters at 4.545. So a really good start to the drilling campaign. But we knew that was going to be a reasonably strong hole because we had a historical hole here and another one here. So we're drilling between 2 areas of known mineralization. But it's always encouraging and confidence boosting to actually get the good results in that first hole. Holes 2, 3, and 4 were far more speculative. Hole 2, drilling off to the east, delivered a large intercept of 1.85 gram per ton, but within that there was 13.6 meters at 3.14 grams per ton. And drilling to the south, hole 3, that was 2 areas of mineralization, 7.3 meters at 2.25 and 11 meters at 4.36 in this direction. But remember, we also have all these samples in the exposure and the trenching in this area here to sort of add to what we know from the drilling results. Now, those 2 results, which we released just a few weeks ago, were pretty exciting results in their own right, but they were overshadowed by hole 4, which was just spectacular. 52 meters at 3.65 grams per ton gold, including 6.68 meters at nearly 11 grams per ton gold, and 7.5 meters at nearly 15 grams per ton gold. So a really, really encouraging result. And then we took the step out on the surface. That's about 165 meter step out. But because we're also drilling away from the area of the known into the unknown, the actual step out from drill data intercepting the scan unit is about 200 meter step out. So it's a big step out. And the visuals from that are pretty encouraging so far. So this is a cross section of this area. So the A prime to A prime. This is where we see the trenching results, the historic holes and the previously announced holes, and there's hole 5 over here. 2 things to note: the limestone expands considerably in this direction, and we also note for the first time material amounts of chalcopyrite in the top of the hole. Now that may contribute to an elevated sort of gold equivalent calculation in the area. It might, but what's more interesting here is the fact that we are seeing copper in the form of chalcopyrite. And we're also seeing a transition away from green garnets into brown garnets. Both of those things indicate we're getting hotter. So as we're heading north, we're getting hotter, getting closer, presumably to the causative source of the whole system, and maybe we'll see elevated copper as we move further north. So really encouraging visuals from hole 5. Now let's talk briefly about the other targets in the PNG portfolio. Very, Very is a high-grade nickel prospect in the south. It's about 50 kilometers away from the coast, at a port at the coast, and about 100 kilometers east-southeast of Port Moresby. It's where you'd expect to see nickel occurring. So it's ultramafic units being lifted up in the area and exposing those ultramafics. This photo here, I took this photo and this sample here in float. So it's in a creek, it's rolled down the creek. It grades 23.3% nickel and 10.6 grams per ton gold. And that's not particularly unique in terms of its spectacular grade. Here are some other float sample results from Very, Very with 15, 11, 10, 19, 15, 23. That's that sample. 26, 45.8% nickel and 32.7% nickel. So some really encouraging float sample results. Some of them occasionally carrying gold as well. So very early stage, but with these sorts of grades, it's a very compelling early stage target that deserves some attention. We have 2 other targets in the portfolio of significance. Now, we're not doing much in the way of field work here. We are doing a little bit, but not much. The reason for that is these projects are porphyry-style targets, and therefore they deserve significant attention in their own right. You know, there's large drilling campaigns and strong balance sheets and so on to pursue those targets. And we just have our hands full with Kusi at the moment, given that it's delivering some spectacular results. So we have said to the market that we're open to partners coming in and pursuing the Ube target, which is a massive 4 kilometre by 4 kilometre surface anomaly. So it's of a size that bodes well for something substantial. And some of those surface samples are grading over 2% copper and 2 gram per tonne gold. We've also said we're open to support for our Emu project, which is up in the Highlands. So Very and Ube and Kusi are in the Owen Stanley in the south. Emu's in the Highlands in elephant country. So you can see some very significant projects in the area, such as Octeti and Porgera and so on. And there's an encouraging start there. We've got 305 metres at 0.65% copper equivalent from pretty close to surface. So it's a good start, but as I said, it's a substantial project in its own right, and we're happy to entertain ideas from people to pursue that outside of our work. Now on to Quinchía. This is a project in Colombia. We have two project areas, the Andes project and the Quinchía project. Quinchía has seen much of the attention for the last 3 years, starting with the sniff of something interesting at Tesorito to completely drilling the Tesorito target out and creating a 1.3 million ounce resource, which we announced last year, taking the total to 2.6 million ounces at a gram per tonne. And as I mentioned at the start, there is a reserve within that of 457,000 ounces at 3.29 gram per tonne gold. And the EIA for that reserve has been submitted. And that's essentially the last significant approval required to have the option of going into production. I'm not saying we are going into production, but have the optionality of taking Miraflores into development. On the larger Quinchía resource, we have done some work at a pre-PEA level, exploring various permutations of plant size and mining sequences and those sorts of things. And those results, obviously on an inferred resource, we can't quote values, but the results were encouraging to continue to pursue those options. And we've also completed metallurgy on Tesorito as well, and that came back encouraging too, with reasonably robust recoveries and nothing in the way of deleterious elements to be concerned about, but also suggesting a very conventional process flow of a crush grind to 75 micron and then a conventional cyanide leach absorption circuit. And there's also other targets in the Quinchía region that are compelling and could potentially grow that Quinchía resource. So the path forward, all of the attention is on Kusi in two parts. First of all, target delineation. So as you would have seen in the map, we have reasonable confidence that we understand what's going on in the south where we're drilling. And we've got some suggestions of something happening in the north, which is exciting as well. But potential scale of the skarn could be substantial in north, east, and west directions. So we're creating these scout programs exploring for that skarn, extension for that skarn unit, but also additional skarn units like Leah's Lode and so on. We have a 3,000 metre drilling program where that's about 18 holes based on sort of the relatively shallow holes we're drilling, and we're 5 holes into that 18-hole program. The program should go through to Q3. The best result so far is that 52 metres at 3.65 grams per tonne. A brilliant start, supplemented by holes 1, 2, 3, and 4, which were holes 1, 2, and 3, which were certainly material as well. And we have those other projects in the area, and you can see some samples here. This is that 61 gram per tonne at Leah's Lode. This is from south of Ube, 156 grams per tonne and 9.5% copper. This is the porphyry story. This is a sample from very grading 11.8% nickel in a mineral called garnierite. So that's where we are. The name change has happened. We're in the process of transitioning now. Stay tuned for more results from Kusi, and thanks for your time.